Okay, so today we're going to talk about surveys. You guys have probably seen surveys before, but we're just going to kind of talk about different types of surveys. So the first thing we have to talk about whenever we're dealing with surveys are biased and unbiased. So in example 1, we're asking all the athletes which is more important, the arts or the sports. This is an example of a biased survey because if we're just asking the athletes, which are they going to say is more important? Sports. Okay, so that skews our data. We could say so many people said that sports were more important than the arts, but we only ask people that like sports. So that is the reason that it is biased. We don't like biased. Okay, example 2. Ask every 10 kids who walk into the school which is more important, the arts or the sports. That is an example of something that is unbiased because you're not just singling out athletes. You're getting a whole type of group of kids, so you're going to get a more realistic answer. Okay, so biased is ones that skew your data, make it not necessarily true, don't represent the actual population. And unbiased are the good surveys, the ones that actually make sense, that are probably more true data. Okay, so example 3. The school randomly asked all the students what would make the teachers happier while working at school. Explain why this question is a sample of a biased survey. So on your Google Forms, you're going to just type in, why is this biased? This is not going to give us accurate results. Why? Okay, once you can pause that and do that once you get done with that. The next thing we have to learn about surveys is population. Population is who you are surveying, okay? So who you're surveying. So go ahead and answer who is the population in the last example. I'll go back. School randomly asked all the students what would make the teachers happier while working at school. Who is the population? Okay, in that specific example, sorry, I keep going back and forth, the population would be the students. Now, hopefully you said this is biased because we shouldn't be asking the students. Our population should be the teachers, because if we're wanting to figure out what would make the teachers happier, well, then that's probably who we need to ask. Okay, example 5. A radio station in New York wants to know the most popular song of the week. The DJ surveys random listeners who call in throughout the week. What is the population of the DJ survey? So go ahead and answer that on your Google Forms as well. Is it A, all the people in New York? B, the listeners who call the station? C, listeners of this radio station? Or D, the most popular song of the week? Okay, I will tell you the correct answer is the listeners who call into the station. Okay, those are the only people he's asking. He's not asking all the people. He's not asking just the people that listen. He's only asking the listeners who call into the station. Okay, so that concludes population. Now we do have a whole bunch of different types of surveys. Some are better than others. They all kind of have their pros and cons. So a voluntary response sample. An example of this is the student council sets up a booth at lunch and has t-shirt options for the 8th grade class to vote on. So we're sitting up, we're trying to decide what 8th grade t-shirt we want, and you have to come vote. That's an example of voluntary response sample. So what are some pros about that? This should be your next example or next question on the forums. What are some good things that can come from voluntary response? Just jot some answers down. Okay, then what are some cons? What are some bad things about only asking for volunteers? Okay, next one is called the systematic random sample. So an example of this is polling every 10th person that came into Walmart about what their favorite Girl Scout cookie is. So you're very random in the people that you get, but you're systematic in it because you're polling every 10th person. You're not just standing there and you ask the first 12 people and then you're done. You're pulling every 10th person so that way you get a wider variety. So tell me some pros about this one and then tell me some cons. And they can be really, really basic stuff. It doesn't have to be something crazy. Okay, convenience sample. An example of this is a teacher decides at the end of the day that she wants to buy treats for her students for the last day of school. So she asks her last hour class what they would like. So the teacher wants to buy for the whole class, but she just asked her last hour because that's whenever she remembers that she wants to do that and wants to get their input. It's convenient to ask the last hour because that's who's in her room. So give me some pros on that, and then give me some cons. And the last one is simple random sample. When you draw your bingo popsicle sticks, which we don't have those this year, I wrote those last year, every stick has an equal opportunity to be drawn. So if I put all of your names in a cup and I draw them out, that is a simple random sample. So give me some pros on that one. Give me some cons on that one. Okay, so now you have those 4 that you have to remember. So you're going to go through here and just tell me what type of sample the survey is showing. So for A, I want to find out if the 7th grade students prefer a 4-day week. So I put all of their names in a hat and draw out 20 to ask. What would that be? A voluntary response, systematic random, convenience, or simple random? Okay, B, I want to determine which sport is most liked at Conway High, so I survey every 15th kid that walks into the cafeteria. Would that be a voluntary response, systematic random, convenience, or simple random? C, I am trying to decide how to assign homework, so I survey all the students and parents on my options that come to open house. So, is that voluntary response, systematic random, convenience, or simple random? D, I am surveying about political views, so I set up a booth at the mall and ask volunteers to come answer the questions. Voluntary response, systematic random, convenience, simple random. All right, I will go back there and tell you the answers to these. This first one, I'm just drawing names out of a hat, so that one is a simple random because it's random and it's super simple. That's how I always think about it. This one, I want to determine which sport is most liked at Conway High, so I survey every 15th kid. That's a systematic random because I'm being very systematic in it. Every 15th kid is who I'm asking. Assigning homework, but I survey the students and parents that come to open house. That's a convenience because that way I don't have to reach out to everyone. I'm just conveniently asking the people that are in front of me at the moment. And the last one, setting up a booth and asking for volunteers, that one's a voluntary response. All right, turn in your form, and there we go.